Hello. You're on my camera. Hello and welcome to Emily Kate Made This. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. So welcome to any new viewers and welcome back to returning viewers. If you are a returning viewer, you'll notice it's been a hot minute. I visited the UK last month for the whole month. So the last time I visited was 2019, so it's been a while. And I visited family and friends and went to 2 weddings. If you watched my previous podcast, you'll know that I made some dresses for them. And I made some accessories as well, which I'll show you a bit later. What else? I will add chapters to the bottom of this, so if there's anything you're not interested in, whether knitting or sewing, you can just skip through, or if you want to go back and see it, that makes it a bit easier. The layout will be basically what I'm wearing, knitting, finished objects and whips, sewing, finished objects, no whips, and some acquisitions because I went a bit crazy in the UK. Not just like buying, but I bought some stuff back from the UK that I already have, and some very, very, very lovely viewers and friends sent me some gifts, so I'll show those to you as well. So I already recorded this episode once, but I was being really quiet and I couldn't get any words out, so we're going to try again. And this time I have water because apparently tea was not working. So what I am wearing, this is a finished object. It was a whip in my previous podcast. I was really inspired by Martina from We Grow Wild. She made this, Jessie made My Little Secret Crop. She made it in the same yarn but a different fruit. She made it in the watermelon, Regia Tutti Fruitti sock yarn, and I had some leftover Passionfruit. So here it is. Obviously it's cropped. I'm also wearing a handmade pair of shorts, culottes, the Helen's Closet Winslow culottes, but you can't see them, so I won't talk about them. Maybe I'll insert a picture because I have worn them before on the podcast and out and about. So the top is Jessie Made Designs. It's originally designed for DK weight yarn, but I used the sock yarn. So instead of doing my usual extra small or small, I went up to a medium size and used this fingering weight yarn. And the yarn itself has elastic in it and it's cotton, so it's really stretchy. And then it's a rib pattern, so that also makes it stretchy. It's minuscule when it's not on the body. It looks like it's never going to fit, but it did, so woohoo. What else? Did find this confusing. I'm sure that it's really obvious, but I don't get it. When you knit a pair of socks in the round with this yarn, you get this pattern here. But this part is knitted flat, and all of this is knitted in the round. I don't understand why it looks so completely different. It's still the same ribbing, just backwards and forwards. Again, I'm sure it's obvious, but I don't understand why that's completely different to that. If anything, I would think that'd be the other way around. But hey. Anything else about it? No, it's very comfortable. I really like it. I like the style. So thank you, Martina, for making it so that it inspired me to make it. I don't know why I have so much of this yarn left. I should have just continued knitting until I ran out of yarn, but I didn't. So I'll show you a bit later, but I've cast on a pair of socks with the leftovers. Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. My second finished object, you cannot see in person, but I will insert pictures and a video. That is the Ziggy Shawl by Locatelli. I was knitting that for the last about 3 months. It's been on the podcast twice, I think, maybe 3 times. I started that as a gift for my friend who got married. She's got married at the end of July. I've known her basically since birth. I was born in March, she was born in August, but we have pictures of us from like yay big, so I'd say my whole life. She got married and I made her this beautiful shawl. I used the Regia, what is it called? I have some, but it doesn't have a label. It's a yak. I'll write it down at the bottom. Anything I talk about will be at the bottom. I think this is gonna drive me crazy. What are you called? Merino Yak. Merino Yak 4-ply. It is a superwash yarn because I thought she's not the kind of person that would, she's not a knitter. She might get it dirty and just throw it in the wash and not even think about it. So I wanted to make sure that it would survive. I am a little nervous because she went on holiday, on her honeymoon, and she messaged me and said, I see that you left my present on the windowsill. I gave it a squish and I noticed that it's not going to break, so it's fine for the cats to like lay around on. And I just thought, oh no, the cats are gonna like rip it apart, and she'll come back from her honeymoon with this like shredded shawl. But let's not think about such unpleasantries. It'll be fine, it'll be fine. But alas, it took me forever, but it was beautiful in the end. I'm a bit confused. Maybe some of you will know the answer, or if you've ever made the shawl, you had the same experience. The yarn, the yarn recommendation is 400 meters per skein, although the actual one used was 425 meters, but it does say recommended just under 800 meters worth of yarn needed for the shawl. And I bought 2 skeins of this yarn, and they are 100 grams, 400 meters, and I ran out of yarn. And it wasn't like playing yarn chicken, I'm almost there. I bought another ball of yarn, emergency ball, in England, and since it was a commercial yarn, the colour was fine, thank goodness, and I needed a whole 50 grams more, so 200 meters more, and I'm a bit confused by this. So basically the shawl is 1,000 meters, which is a really large amount of yarn, and I double checked and I definitely didn't like do an extra repeat or anything. I used the recommended needles. Maybe if I did a 3.5 millimeter instead, it would have come out right? I don't know. But anyway, hopefully you've seen the pictures and it's beautiful. I didn't have any blocking pins or blocking mat. I don't have one here, but I also have solid floors. My parents live in England and I forgot that everybody has carpets in England. So they have carpets everywhere and a cat. So you can't really just leave it on the floor anywhere. So I hung it over the washing line once I blocked it. I also didn't have any wool wash because I planned on buying some in Brighton, and then I got the Rona. I was welcomed back to the UK with open arms and the virus. So I spent the entire first week of my time in the UK in bed. So that was fun. So I didn't get the wool wash, but I did have time to knit. So I blocked it with conditioner, hair conditioner, in the bath, and then I hung it out on the washing line. Unfortunately, it fell off the washing line, landed like this close to a lovely precious gift from my cat, or my parents' cat, of a dead mouse. So that was gross. Luckily it didn't land on it, because then I'd probably have to wash it all over again. But it was fine. So I hung it over the washing line to kind of stretch out. It does have a picot edge, like a lace edge at the bottom, and then a picot bind off, which you'll never see because I never got to block it. But when I did go to the UK, I was in the UK, when I did go to Brighton, I did get myself, where you work? Apparently not. I did get myself some T-pins for blocking lace garments. They're by Knit Pro. So I will be set. I probably need more than, it has 50. The size of that shawl, I'm sure I'll need more than 50. I don't have a blocking mat. I was kind of hoping I could use an old yoga mat, but I don't know. Where was I? The shawl, blocking, yes. So a little bit upset that I needed so much more yarn because if you watched my last episode, I talked about beautiful yarn from Keats Garn, and it was a graffiti, Spati graffiti I think it's called, and it's so beautiful, and I bought 2 skeins so I could make myself a shawl, and now I'm aware that I can't because I needed 3 skeins basically. Get your words together, Emily. 2.5 balls, aka skeins, when not balled up. And yeah, I don't have 3, I have 2. Technically, it's probably possible to get another one, but then that's an insanely large amount of money to spend on a shawl. So maybe I'll make a 2 skein shawl, like a legit 2 skein shawl, and not a 2.5. So we'll see. That is that one. What else can I say about it? It's marvelous. That's about it. So that's finished objects. Now I will talk about my works in progress. My first work in progress is the Mangrove Tee by Trust the Mojo, or Morgan M2. She seems to have both names on there, so either both or one of them. I did some swatching. Shocking, I know. I don't usually, but because the last few things I've been making, like lace-wise, came out kind of too loose, I thought I'll try and do a swatch. Weirdly, it does tell you to swatch flat, even though the garment is about 80% done in the round. So when I knit with backwards and forwards and do purling or have a rib section, my stitches get looser. So I am aware of that, but I do have some swatches here. They're not complete because I dropped them and unraveled them because I took the needles out, and then during my last attempt at recording I dropped it, stood on it and pulled more out, so sorry. This is a linen cotton blend. I'll talk about this later, it's an acquisition. There we go. So although you won't be able to see a lot because it really wants to focus on my chest, this is attempt swatch number 1. You really just can't see the lace. It's not really lace, what am I talking about? It's like it's a pattern, textured pattern, but it's so loose and I didn't love it. And I already went down a needle because it recommends 5mm, so I went to 4.5. But I think I probably need 4, maybe 3.5, but then the gauge is going to be crazy off. So I tried a rounder yarn. This is quite flat. This one's the Drops Muscat yarn. This is the one I dropped. So it's teeny tiny, but you can still see how open that is. And I'm not a fan. I know that if I'm knitting in the round, it will tighten up because I'll be doing knitting on the knit rows instead of purling. I did think I'll just do it on 4mm, but then I put them down. I spent about an hour and a half on these swatches and thought, nope, I'm going to use a completely random yarn that my mum gave me from somebody else who gave it to her because they didn't know what to do with it. It's called Rowan Summer Tweed. It's discontinued now. I have balls of it that are just, like there was 1 skein and then I think 3 balls of it. But I have no idea really how much I have because when I looked it up, some people say it's got 108 meters, some people 128. They seem to have mislabeled it, so who knows, just gonna go with it. But when I just recorded earlier, I had just cast on and whilst I was waiting for my battery to charge, I did 3 more rows, and my goodness, is this yarn a pain in the... It's really slubby and textured and rough, and not entirely sure I'm going to manage an entire t-shirt in this with the texture. For some reason I can't remember words to describe, because it's not lace, but it's not texture, the pattern. I'll see if I can show you. To be honest, I'm not sure if you will actually see the pattern because the yarn is so textured. So I might just do maybe half of the t-shirt. It will be quite cropped because I don't have loads of the yarn. I might just do half of it with texture and the rest stockinette so that it doesn't hurt, because it's really difficult. On the knit rows, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. But on the texture, there's a lot of make one right, make one left, knit 2 together. And it's really difficult to get the yarn to play ball. Can you see it? It's crazy colour. Will it focus? Possibly. Looks like it is. It is a silk and cotton blend. It looks sweet and innocent in this little ball, but it's really rough, really textured, and not very nice on the hands. But I don't mind having just the bottom part with the texture pattern, and then maybe I'll even make it like a strappy version. And then I'll have time to play around with the swatches for the other one, or I'll just do 3.5mm and go up a size just like I did with this one. That could work. So that's the plan. Anything else? No, I wanted to cast this on last year, but I didn't manage it because I think I started in September with the idea, and then I thought, oh, I'll save it for the summer months. But then I had that shawl going on for 3 months and the baby knits that I started. So it didn't really work out this year. So hopefully it will work out now. Where shall I put you? I'll put you on the bed. Okay, and my final work in progress is a pair of socks. So when I was knitting this, I was doing the straps in the car on the way to Burford for the second wedding. I thought I think it's inside out. Whoops, I've put this on inside out. Anyway, I finished off the straps and then didn't have any scissors, and I wasn't 100% sure if they were the right length, so I just pulled some yarn out the other end of the ball and started on a pair of socks. So I started the ribbing, so it's a knit 2 through the back, purl 2 all the way around. Then they're not quite shorties, but they're also not as long as usual because I'm not sure how much yarn I have. I do have this one, and I have maybe half a ball of another one. I don't know where I got all of this from. I have a full pair of socks, so I don't quite know how I've got so much of this yarn. And so this was on 2mm needles and 2.25. Then I did a Eye of Partridge heel, where I started it at least. This part I did in the car, this part I did at the wedding, and this part I did on the aeroplane back to Berlin. I did have to buy emergency needles because I bought 3mm for this and 4mm for my shawl. I didn't expect to finish like both of them because that shawl took me forever. So I was happily surprised when I managed to finish this. And so when I went to Brighton, I went to Yak, which is a cute little store in Brighton, obviously. That's where I picked up these pins, and I bought some yarn, which I'll show you later. And I also got some higher bamboo needles. I've never used higher before, Didn't want to buy the sharps because I didn't want to stab myself, and I quite like knitting with wooden needles. After using the Licker needles, I really like it. I couldn't find them anywhere in the UK. I don't know if people just don't use them or what, but every time I looked for Licker needles online, it just sent me back and said you should get them in Germany. So I thought I'd try something new. I really like them. So I've got 2 pairs. I'm using them both at the moment, one to hold these stitches and one to go backwards and forwards. So I think I've got my 2.25s are just holding the stitches, because I tend to knit quite loosely when I'm doing the knit and purl on the heel. So I'm using 2mm for that one. So again, this is the Regia Tutti Fruitti in the Passionfruit. That is my final whip. Anything else knitting related that I'm knitting on? No. Okay. Then how shall I do this? I will talk to you now about my knitting acquisitions from my trip. Then I will talk about my sewing finished objects and then sewing related items that I bought or was given. So let's do acquisitions. Whilst we're on the subject of Yak Brighton, I got 3 skeins. They were in the sale bin right by the till, and I couldn't resist. This is the Studio Donegal Darnie. And look at those colours. Just, yeah. We'll get there eventually. I am pretty certain one of my Make 9 projects is a cardigan with chickens on. If it's not on my Make 9, it's on my I need to make this immediately, but I never do because it's an all over work cardigan and I'm terrified of getting my gauge wrong, because every colourwork project I make, the gauge is wrong, even when I do swatches. So I want to practice a little bit more before I actually do it. But they were reduced, so I bought them, and I think that they will fit in really well to the chicken cardigan. I think it's like the main colour is this one, so I think that should work because it is all over colourwork, although I have seen somebody do just colourwork at the top and at the bottom and knit stockinette in the body, so I might do that to encourage me to actually make it. And I'm also considering making it a jumper instead of steeking it, so we'll see, because I tend to make cardigans and then do them up, so I might as well just have a jumper. And also when I make cardigans, they don't sit as nicely. It's obviously me, I just haven't figured out the whole shebang, but somehow I make it look like a little bit too big, that it just kind of hangs. So I think I might make it into a jumper, maybe crop it and make some of it with stockinette. So that's the plan for these babies. And when I was in Brighton, I went to the charity shops, and oh my gosh, I miss charity shops so much. They just don't have charity shops here in Berlin. I don't know if it's just Berlin or Germany, but there are no charity shops. There are some like second-hand or vintage shops, but then the price tags match that. But I found something wonderful. I found this beautiful cone of yarn for £4. And apparently it is, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, hosiery? I don't think it's hosiery, but it's lamb's wool in the colour Honey from Thomas Ambler, and it's 2/20, whatever that means. I'm going to assume it's like a lace weight yarn. It's a bit dirty on the bottom, but the worst thing is that there were about 5 cones and 2 of them had moths inside. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm purchasing something with the full knowledge there are moths in it. So I took it home to my parents, kept it in a plastic bag and shoved it in the freezer for the last week. Now I've been home for 2 days and it's been in the freezer, and I'm going to put it back in the freezer after showing you this. I'll put it in the bag now actually, but just show you up close if it will focus. So yeah, that's all wrapped up now, ready to go back in the freezer. It's a little bit like when I used to buy loads of plants and then I would see reduced ones with bugs and I'd think, I can get rid of those bugs. I never ever can get rid of bugs. All of my plants have bugs or have had bugs. They're called thrips and they never go away. I've used everything people tell me, like washing up liquid, oils, neem, nothing gets rid of the bugs. Anyway, back to the moths. Hopefully no moths. There weren't moths in that cone, but probably eggs. So yeah, back in the freezer. Might even hoover this room. And then my second purchase was in a place called Snooper's Paradise. If you've ever been to Brighton, you may have seen it. If not, go there, it's amazing. And I got, there's one missing because I used a ball for my swatch. Ta-da! It is called, what is it called? Tivoli Linen Plus. It's a mixture of linen and cotton. And I really like the label. Please focus because the label is so nice. It's also discontinued and I don't really know what I'm doing. It just says 50 grams but doesn't really say how much. According to the internet it's about 70 meters or something like that. So I'm not really sure how much, like how big of an item I'll make out of it, but we'll see. I couldn't leave it there, just sitting there begging for my love. Okay, my next acquisition is like not that exciting. This is a cascade yarn to practice, like do a little swatch and test it out my mum's neck, because if you watched a few podcasts ago I made a really cute fox jumper, but the gauge went mental. It was so horrendously wrong, but apparently I just knit incredibly tightly when I do colour work, especially with Plutolopi. It was one strand of Plutolopi, which in my head would be about fingering weight, which is also what my gauge came out as, even like bordering on lace. But other people made it out to be like a 16 stitches per 10 centimeters, which I don't understand how, but they did. And that's the, I think, from trying to remember, it was supposed to be like a worsted Aaron's weight. Didn't happen, so I bought this one to attempt, see if I can get gauge with this, and if my mum, if it's soft enough for her, then I'll get some more colours and do a test swatch and redo the jumper. The other one ended up being mine. It doesn't, like, I don't like the way the sleeves sit or the body because it just looks a bit naff. So eventually I'll do another one for myself with the correct gauge. But for now, I enjoy just wearing it around the house, but it's a bit useless for going out because it's got no sleeves and it's cropped. So that was that one. This one I am so excited about. If any of you guys watch Magda Knits, you may recognize this stunning skein. Please focus. And although I love you, Magda, I think you're crazy because she didn't really like it and she didn't really like the colour, and I was just so in love with it when I saw it, and every time she talked about it or posted about it on Instagram I just send all these love hearts because it's so beautiful. And yeah, she asked me if I wanted to take it off her hands because she didn't know what to do with it and didn't particularly like the colour that much. Again, you crazy. But I love you. So she has a podcast, so if you haven't seen it, immediately go check her out. She spun this yarn with her bare hands and dyed it. It's 100% Ryland, 90 grams, 180 meters. No idea what I will use it for, but it will be used. But for now I'm going to just stare at it and caress it and hug it and enjoy it. Yeah, so that was a beautiful gift, which I'm really happy about. And if you have any ideas what I could use it for, do let me know. And I want to show you it again. I just can't believe that somebody had wool and washed this wool and then spun it and turned it into this and then dyed it. It's just, it's so beautiful. I have kind of two more acquisition-y things. I'm using one, but I can't show you because I've put it away somewhere. But I got myself some adorable stitch markers from Chapel View Crafts. I've had my eye on these for ages and I eventually caved. After getting the Rona, I thought I need to treat myself. Please focus. But they're beautiful and they're handmade with some kind of polymer clay, and I've got a little mince pie and marshmallow hot chocolate, 2 hot cross buns and a cup of tea. Completely out of season, but they're the ones that I loved, so I got them. Anything else? I've completely forgotten one of my works in progress. I got some patterns from my mum. She has collected them over the years and I forgot to tell you about one. I started another vintage jumper, it's more like a t-shirt, it's got cap sleeves. I can't show you the pattern because it's on my phone and it was just a picture, and I also don't know anything about it, to be honest. It's called Robin. I think it's from the 1950s because it's in colour as opposed to my ones from the 1940s, but it's along a similar ilk. For me it was very exciting, and my mum just had a whole bunch of these old patterns. The needle recommendations are in English, like the UK needle, so I've converted them, and they suggested number 8, which is a 4mm, UK number 8, and UK number 6, which is a 5mm, but I'm changing that because I'm not a 34 inch and I'm more like a 31-ish. So I'm going down to 3mm for the ribbing at the bottom and 4mm for the pattern. Only downside is I don't have a 4mm yet. Hopefully it's in the post. I haven't gotten very far. I've done my ribbing on my 3mm. So there's the first half. It's a vintage pattern, so it's knitted backwards and forwards flat, and then it has just 2 pieces that you seam together at the end because it doesn't have sleeves. It's got like grown in sleeves that you attach like at the end. I'm using my leftover yarn, which you might recognise from my last vintage knit, because I used this, then I bought one skein too much, then it sat in my yarn stash for ages and I didn't know what to do with it. I thought I'd mix it with the white one I have, but there's never a time I wear stripes, really, because I have a lot of patterns. So mixing pattern and pattern, that's good, I'll do that. But stripes and patterns is more difficult. So I could never get my head around which stripy pattern I would use. So I've now just decided I'll buy one more ball of this. Hopefully that'll be enough to finish this second jumper, because I have this much, this mess of spaghetti, this much, and then hopefully one more will make the whole jumper. I'll try and insert a picture, if I haven't already, of the front page of the booklet magazine thing, so you know what I'm talking about. And it's in my little cute baggie that matches one of my dresses. Okay, I have been talking so much that my battery is running out already, so I will try and be faster. This section is my sewing, so no dresses this time. Last time I made a yellow linen dress, which you may recall, and I thought I'd make an accessory to go with it. I had some yellow shoes and I made a little bag. And this bag, I thought, it's so small it probably won't be used that much. I use it all the time. It's a great bag. It's linen, so it looks super creased now, but and I lined it with bees. So this is the Criss Cross Bag. It's a free pattern by Alice Irvine. And I think it's amazing. So you pop the long handle through and just pop it like that. And I think it's great. The instructions confuse me a little bit because if you can see, there's a seam. So they had essentially like the bee fabric there and the yellow there, and then bee fabric there, yellow there. And it was blowing my mind a little bit, but in the end, I actually prefer having the lining as one colour and the outside as one. So that's my cute little baggie. I made it for the wedding, and then I ended up using it throughout my whole trip in the UK because it held so much stuff. I could throw my sun cream, my sunglasses, phone, wallet, it holds everything. Second finished sewing object is a hat. I watched Orla put a few stories up on her Instagram making this hat by Merchant and Mills. It's also a free pattern. Her one, she had a bigger, like a wider brim, but I knew that would drive me insane, so I did the smaller brim. So it's like a little bucket hat. I have a hair clip in, so it doesn't quite fit how it should. So there's my little hat. And I love it. This is the leftover linen from the dress, and so is the bag. And on the inside, I used the mushroom fabric. Technically it's reversible, but I don't know, it doesn't sit as nicely. I did interface the brim because the linen would be really floppy otherwise. And did I do anything else? I think I interfaced all of the linen here actually, because it's quite loosely woven. But I love it, I think it's really cute. And I wore this a lot on my holiday as well, because the UK was seriously hot, which is very rare to say. It got to 37 degrees and the whole country was just like, we're all gonna die, we're all melting. Bit dramatic. But to be fair, the airport strips, they were melting in the heat, so maybe UK is just not designed for 37 degrees. Okay, so that is my sewing. Ta-da! Then I have some acquisitions and presents. So on the subject, where are you? On the subject of Orla was so sweet and she sent me a little present, and I just have to show you this card because it's a rabbit knitting. How cute is that? She sent me a little piece of Liberty fabric because it's so beautiful. Orla quite often sews with Liberty and I think it's so beautiful, but unless I am completely blind, we cannot get lawn in Berlin. Or Germany. You can get poplin and something that I can't ever pronounce, like cretone, but you can't get lawn. I've seen one place with lawn and it's so expensive, I just can't. But I mean, Liberty is also very expensive, but not all lawn in the UK is expensive. Something is falling. Anyway, I think it's so beautiful. So she recommended to turn it into some kind of bias binding, which I will give a whirl. And we were talking as well, I'm going to crinkle a bit here. We were talking earlier on Instagram about some labels. There are some really funny ones, and the company that I really liked, I don't know who they are, but I just knew that they had some rather rude labels. They're not making them at the moment, but Orla had a few in her stash, so she sent me some, like, it's not going to focus probably, but this one says, "This took ages, made to last, look after me, room for cake," and they're so sweet, so thank you, Orla. She also sent me a little tea and a little card, so very nice. And on my travels through the charity shops and the antique shops, I came across a couple of patterns. This one I thought was really cute because it's got some dungarees on it. I'd like to try those. And I think this one is actually opened and used, but I'm hoping I can stick it back together. And I won't go through all of them, but a friend of mine called Emma, she gave me a whole bunch of her old patterns that she got. Like, they come often with a magazine, and she was going to throw them away, but then she just gave them to me. And I'm so excited. So there's about 3 or 4 dresses that I want to make immediately. But I have to rein it in because I need to buy practice fabric and then like legit fabric to make it. So I cannot afford this. This hobby is very expensive. So I have to rein it in, just a little bit at a time. But I'm very excited, so thank you, Emma. If you're still with me, thank you. Thank you for your patience. So, that I'll show you in a second. Oh, she's dropping everything. I dropped everything on the floor. So, I went to a little place that many of you sewists will know about. I went to Merchant and Mills. They are in Rye, which is a beautiful little place in the south of England. And I basically begged my family, please take me to Rye, please take me to Rye. So we did. And I got a few little bits. I'm aware I sound like really cheap because I keep saying like, oh, it's expensive, or I can't afford it. But the reality is I don't have a lot of money, so I can't afford it. But I just feel a bit uncomfortable saying it. But I found the, what are they called? I was going to say a free bin. I wish it's not a free bin. Reduced bin with some fabrics in. This one was an epic find because it's 2 meters and 2.8 meters. And it was £20 for linen. It says it's floored and has oily marks throughout. But I did unravel it and lay it out on the table. I couldn't see any obvious marks, but it's also quite thin, like finely woven. You probably can't tell. So it could be used as lining for a dress, or I'll just make like a home dress, or a pair of culottes maybe. So the fabric will be a bit more ruched together, but it'll be a fun fabric to use because linen's very expensive. Merchant and Mills, it's about £25 a meter, £25 a meter. So to get nearly 3 meters for 20. It was very exciting. And this one is called Burnt Umber. That was exciting. Then this one is a lot thicker. This is kind of the weight I'm used to. That one's a lot finer. This one is called Cinnamon Dust, and apparently it has a thread floor. Again, I opened it up and I didn't see anything hugely noticeable. It's 1 meter and it's €13.65. £13.65. It's a really nice colour. So I thought maybe I could do a top or a skirt. And I got this one, which I really wish you could feel because it's so nice. This is a Tencel linen blend, 1.3 meters and 17 pounds. And it feels so like weighty and cool and really nice. They were my purchases. Oh, I also got a bodkin and threader because I'm fed up of turning these things, obviously not on a knitted item, on sewing. Trying to pull them through with a safety pin because I keep stabbing myself or breaking the safety pin. So I'm going to give this a try. I don't know if it will focus. Focus. And my mum also got some fabric from the, not the free bin, reduced bin. And she made me a little project bag, a huge project bag. And it's got such a nice feel to it. I would love a whole dress in this fabric. Ah, so nice. And the final purchase is super random. £2 again in charity shop. And so English. It's so funny. They have such hilarious cozies. Who doesn't want a washing line knitted tea cozy in their life? Everybody wants this, right? If that wasn't amazing enough, is that a good picture? There's one with mushrooms all over it. Come on. It's amazing. So, you know, it had to come home with me. And even if I don't knit a whole bunch of tea cozies, it does have some sweet little knitting patterns. So, like mushroom patterns. I've also got Battenberg cake. It made me so happy. Yeah, so well done. You managed, you got through all those acquisitions. And I'm going to end the podcast there because my battery is crying. I have talked probably longer than ever before. And that's about everything that I have knitted and sewn, purchased and been gifted. So, oh, one last thing. I missed my podiversary. My first episode went up on the 31st of July 2021. So, yay! I've been doing this for one whole year, which is kind of crazy because I'm still really like nervous and I blabber and I'm not actually that comfortable yet. And it's been a year. Still weird talking to yourself in the room. But thank you to everybody that have been watching, liking, subscribing, commenting. It means the world to me. So thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye!